what are consultants going to do now that they can't charge their meals, right?
Yeah.
That was a huge perk.
Huge perk.
You
Yeah,
know.
absolutely.
Um,
There's a
really
lot
it
of,
was like a feedback into the fanciness and the prestige of the role, because you're going out on the client's dime, to eat these fancy meals, and it really makes you buy into that image. If you're living that kind of life, you're flying everywhere, you got the status to
yep,
stay in nice places, fly first class, have the nice Tumi or the Rimowa luggage.
yep.
Just everything kind of just is that feedback loop into that quality of life or that lifestyle that we don't have anymore. That's not something that the new cadre of consultants have
It's a different
experienced.
world, a totally different world, and we're still going to. I don't think we've netted out in terms of the landfall at the end of the day of COVID and the impacts that's going to have in this industry, right? I think it's going to
Yeah.
net out at some point in the next couple of years, but none of that's there anymore, and more clients are recognizing that cost was I don't want to call it a waste, but they're getting the same productivity and they're getting even more efficiency in some cases from these engagements.
Yeah, I think sales is probably going to tip the scales,
Yeah.
eventually, right? It's just going to be this edge in competition because while we're pretty happy to say that the productivity at home is comparable, at least, right, to
Hmm.
being on site, and people are kind of questioning why we needed them on site in the first place. Well, first of all, if you're going to pay that much for anybody, right, you'd like to be able to see them
Yeah.
on demand. um, I think that's a value that people are going to be struggling with, but I think what's going to happen is this. So, say Accenture and Deloitte are bidding for work, but they're already on site, or they're at a client doing two separate projects, right? But they have service offerings that they're bidding on, you know, in another area, right? Whoever's on site there,
Yep.
at least from the leadership perspective, right, is going to have the distinct advantage. So, like, to say that leadership wouldn't travel, I think that would be kind of silly. From a sales perspective, that in-person relationship is always going to have advantage over this type of thing, right?
100%.
And I think that it's just going to be a series of kind of like one-upping each other until we reach kind of a new equilibrium. I don't think
Mm.
that it's going to be the same as it was before,
Yeah.
but I also don't think that the travel is going to die down as much as people think it's going to be based on the current landscape. I just think that it's going to come to a point where it's going to equilibrate based on what people think the competitive advantage is on the consulting side, right?
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
actually being there. And of course, what the client's willing to pay for. But if you start to lose projects because you're not on site, then you're going to start pushing for that
More and
expense,
more.
right?
Yeah.
So I think that's what's going to carry it. If you start feeling
Well
like
put.
you're losing because you're not on site, or if that's what's going on in your head and that's what you truly believe, then
You're
you're
going
going
to
to
go
push
there
for that. And we're going to reach a new level where maybe it's going to be like 2 weeks on,
two
two
weeks
weeks
off.
off, or
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that, where we kind of reach a balance with the clients, instead of just being the industry norm to be 4 days on every week, right?
Yeah. No, I agree. I agree. Especially
So
for sales, you buy from folks who you trust. To build
exactly,
trust, you got to interact in person,
yeah,
right? We're very social creatures, and at the end of the day, you're not going to build a relationship on Zoom, right? And unless you're out with the client shooting the shit, right? Trying to really
at
understand them at
dinners,
the
yeah,
human level.
you
The best
gotta,
stories come out of the dinners, right?
yeah.